Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to take a moment today to talk to you about what I plan on reading in the autumn, the Burr months. I have some things I know I really want to get to. October is clearly going to be a busier month for me, and on one hand, it would be wonderful if I could dedicate all of my time to reading, but that's just not realistic. And I'm a mood reader. I could go through this whole thing and be like, they all sound wonderful. I can't wait to read all of them. But the reality is, I'm going to probably go, I don't really feel like it, and then go from there. And it very well could be that I am tempted by another book. So yeah, I have it broken down into a few different categories. A lot of them are spooky or horror or like thriller oriented. Again, I am a mood reader, so a lot of these I either am already reading or began to read, or yeah, just continue to not work out. Yeah, ADHD is wild, everybody. Without further ado, let me set you down in a better place. You need to be where? You need to be out of the way of the books. The Exorcist, written by William Peter Blatty, the most terrifying novel ever written. 40th anniversary edition. I love a fancy edition. But yeah, we know what this is about. We've all either had it referenced or spoofed or have seen The Exorcist. I was raised Catholic, so this one is, it's weird to say special. The Exorcist is special to me. In a way, it is. It was a very formative one. I love special effects like makeup, and for its time and even standing the test of time, the SFX makeup for Reagan continues to be like top tier. And yeah, it's one that, fingers crossed, maybe someday I'll have my moment where I work in a haunted house. Someday. I love the film, and I've never read the book. And I was at the horror house shop in Avondale. Highly recommend visiting The Boys. It's a wonderful movie. I very much love the decision to have it be a Christmas Day movie. People were so pissed off. I thought that was very cheeky choice on their part. So this is one that I hope to get to. It is, as you can see, very, very thick. So it's about 400 pages, but also it's not, thankfully, like super like condensed down. A lot of dialogue for sure. So I feel like this may actually go faster than I'm giving it credit for. This is one that, if anything, maybe I will go along with the theme of the movie coming out on Christmas, aiming for it in October. If not, I will circle back to it for Christmas the way God intended. In a dark, dark wood by Ruth Ware. I picked this up at Bookends and Beginnings in Evanston. I really do dig Ruth Ware. She can be a little bit polarizing in like the thriller community, but I have enjoyed her work overall. The Turn of the Key was like the first book that I read, which is unsurprising because I feel like everybody on Book Talk was like, talking it up. And that twist at the end really did get me. So I do give her that. It was very unputdownable. It was a very bingeable book. Trying to see where the little blurb is about what this book's about. Where'd you hide it? Enjoy the ASMR about the book. Well, I'll read you the little blurbs, and then I'm gonna go grab my laptop to actually read you the actual blurb. Who pulls a gun at a bachelorette party? The answers are unveiled with Gillian Flynn-styled trickery. Yeah, it's all like Marie Claire women's mags kind of vibe. Wow, that didn't occur to me. I picked this book up based on like vibes and the fact that it was Ruth Ware. I realize now, I'm like, I didn't know what this book was actually about. Be right back. Oh, okay. Sweating. Why am I sweating in September? Ruth Ware. What's the book called again? What should be a cozy and fun-filled weekend deep in the English countryside takes a sinister turn in Ruth Ware's suspenseful, compulsive, and darkly twisted psychological thriller. Sometimes the only thing to fear is yourself. When reclusive writer Leonora is invited to the English countryside for a weekend away, she reluctantly agrees to make the trip. But as the first night falls, Revelations unfold among friends old and new. An unnerving memory shatters Leonora's reserve, and a haunting realization creeps in. The party is not alone in the woods. Ah, man. All this struggle to get my laptop for this paragraph. It's fine. It's fine. 34 years old. I have read up to page 46. I read it by like candlelight because I wanted to be really in the mood. When did I buy this? We're coming up in a year. Sunday, September 22, 2024. I'm filming this on September 19, 2025. Oh, that's fun. Oh, look at me go. Continuity. So maybe you'll finish that book this year. Let's hope. Let's believe in me. Bochica, a novel by Carolina Flores. An absolutely stunning debut. Bochica is a rich, lush, historical Gothic. This is an author to watch and a book to pick up. A young aristocratic woman is desperate to escape her deadly past in this haunting debut Gothic horror novel, perfect for fans of Mexican Gothic and The Shining. So I love The Shining, both the book and the film. The book does make the film feel weird to watch after, if you go in that direction of film to book, and then you're like, why'd you do that? But if you're able to separate them out and then treat them as distinct things. And I love Shelley Duvall, Jack Nicholson, wonderful. Everybody was wonderful in it. It just wasn't The Shining. And the fact that even Stephen King was like, oh, here, this one detail is very important. It's very important that the car is this vehicle and this color and whatnot. And then was like, Stanley Kubrick was like, yeah, sure. And then he didn't do that. And Stephen King was just there like, you can imagine it because I'm wearing the same glasses as Stephen King. Just imagine I'm a white man with his glasses, and that's Stephen King. So Mexican Gothic is one that I really wanted to like. I think the problem is the writing style is very Victorian Gothic. And on one hand, I feel like if I come back to it, I may appreciate it more because I know what it's going for. There's also the issue of, it's called Mexican Gothic. I'll like pause this for a second because it's not about her. It's about my beef with Mexican Gothic now. It's called Mexican Gothic, and it's mostly like the people who live in Mexico or who are like native are like backstory people. It's all people who like immigrated. It's more like Mexican expat Gothic versus like actually about, I thought it would include more of indigenous people who are from Mexico and not so much like still kind of like colonial narrative that kind of like threw me and a few other people that I talked to about it after. I'm like, hey, so I finished Mexican Gothic and I have some issues. And like, okay, thank God, we can talk about it now. That's my main issue with it. Otherwise, I did still enjoy it. I am allergic to mold, so the idea of a house being able to hurt me is very real for me. So I think that's part of it too. It might be a little bit too close to actually properly appreciate Mexican Gothic for what it is. It does feel like there's a little bit too much distance between the characters at times, but otherwise I do feel like it's a wonderful debut. I'm glad it exists. We need more Latina writers. It's an expectation versus reality. It's part of why I'll talk about books I want to read with you all. I don't know if I'm going to go out of my way to review them all the time because it's personal and the reality of discourse around books is weird nowadays. Unless you all want to hear what I thought of the books that I read. Let me know down below if that matters to you, but that wasn't really something that I feel drawn to. I'd rather share what I'm looking forward to and I'll read it when I read it. But yeah, so Bochica, Pacha, Colombia, 1923. Antonia and her family call Casona, an opulent mansion perched above the legendary Salto del Tequen Dama waterfall, their home. But they are constantly plagued by nightmares and feel the threatening presence of the house's malevolent spirit. Tragedy soon strikes when Antonio's mother takes a fatal flaw. into El Salto, and her father, consumed by grief, attempts to burn the house down with Antonia still inside. 3 years later, haunted by sinister dreams and her late mother's cryptic journal entries, Antonia is drawn back to the childhood home when it is converted into a luxurious hotel. Too real. As Antonia confronts her fragmented memories and the disturbing history of the estate, she wrestles with unsettling questions she can no longer ignore. Was her mother's death by her own hands? Or was it by someone or something else beyond La Casona's walls? In a terrifying quest for answers, Antonia must infiltrate La Casona and navigate the shadows, unearthing its darkest secrets and confronting a legacy that threatens to swallow her whole. With unforgettable prose, Bochica's fast-paced escapist drama promises atmosphere, psychological horror, and a taste of the supernatural. So I'm excited for it. Victorian Psycho, a novel by Virginia Fato, blurbed by Paul Tremblay, of horror movie and a head full of ghosts. Catriona Ward. I'm really pronouncing everyone's name real Latin right now, and they might not all be Latin, but I want to be respectful. Simmering with Rage. I'm already beginning to read this one. Mrs. March was hailed as a brilliant debut by a writer who keeps pace with the grandees she invokes. From Daphne du Maurier and Shirley Jackson to Patricia Highsmith, now Fato returns to unleash an entirely new anti-hero on us all. Winifred Naughty arrives at Ensor House, prepared to play the perfect governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges, Drusilla and Andrew, tell them bedtime stories, and only joke about eating children. But long, listless days spent within the estate's dreary confines come with an intimate knowledge of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family. Mr. Pounds can't keep his eyes off of Winifred's chest, and Mrs. Pounds takes a sickly pleasure in punishing Winifred for her husband's wandering gaze. Hate to see it. Compounded with her disdain for the entitled Pounds children, Winifred finds herself struggling at every turn to stifle the violent compulsions of her past. Winifred finds herself struggling at every turn to stifle... Oh, I already read that. French tutoring and needlework are only one way to pass the time, as is admiring the ugly portraits in the gallery and the creeping across the moonlit lawns. Patience. Winifred must have patience, for Christmas is coming, and she has a very special gift planned for the dear souls of Ensor House. Brimming with sardonic wit and culminating in a shocking conclusion, Victorian Psycho plunges readers into the chilling mind of an iconic new literary psychopath. The prose, the point of view, the attitude, the ambiance that's being built. I feel like there's a very strong understanding that she has as a writer around giving you enough. A lot of Victorian writing is a few pages of setting the tone in excruciating detail. And part of that was understanding that these stories were often read aloud. That's really where that comes from. It isn't strictly a matter of, we think that you're too silly, you're not able to conjure up the picture in your mind. It was a matter of making it more effective, more enticing to be read aloud, to make it more enjoyable to be read aloud. I love that there is clearly the understanding that we know what this house looks like. I'm giving you enough, and I'm giving you my visceral reactions and like my deep darkness, and making that more of the forefront, because we all have that picture. We have that sitting in the backlog if we already consume enough Gothic fiction or have seen enough of it even in passing. And I really am so struck by how she does understand. I know you're not going to be reading this out loud. It is such a deeply intimate perspective on like the innermost workings of how this person is relating to everybody else around her, as far as like her being the governess, and then how all these other players are bouncing off of her. So far, so brilliant. I am so delighted as I have access to the perverse inner workings of their mind. Being able to have that anti-hero perspective is so like fun and cheeky. And yeah, as somebody who does enjoy Netflix's You, I feel like I have been craving something to replace that in a sense. So I feel like this is really hitting the mark for me so far. I believe in me. I believe I will finish this book. I will finish this book. I will finish this book. I have been trying to finish it. Let's see. Part of why I like to keep my Barnes & Noble receipts and whatnot, receipts from anywhere I buy the book, is because I do want a quick touch point of when did I get this? So I got it in 2021. That's how long I've been trying to read this book. I will begin it and then stop because I realize that it requires more focus. It's a bit more of a literary horror. Again, it's an expectations versus a reality thing. It is still beautifully written. It's that I don't think I've had enough mental capacity. So I actually would like to read this one properly in November when I have more capacity. And November will be when I am doing the most writing. Like I am writing my horror novel. I'm actually doing it. I'm doing it, everybody. And I feel like if I try to cram this in October, it's not going to really like stick and gel the way that I feel like it deserves. And I will just probably end up putting it back down again. The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on retribution, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. Again, sick as hell, blurbed by Paul Tremblay. Paul Tremblay is kind of giving Stephen King in that he is like blurbing a lot of horror novels lately. And it's also blurbed by Tananarive Due, who I hope to meet pretty soon. I will see if I'm even able to blog that situation. At the very least, I will talk to you about how I cried meeting her. Okay, that was all of the like full-length horror novels that I have physically. So let me talk about what I am audio reading. I don't know what the word is for that. But yeah, I just finished reading The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. So I was able to successfully finish that one. It is an epistolary story. Laptop, come back. We typing. You all like this? You like the typing? Yeah, I was so busy doing that bit, I forgot why I opened my laptop. Stephen Graham Jones. Killing it. We're killing it. New York Times bestselling author of The Only Good Indians comes a tale of the American West, writ in blood. This chilling historical novel is set in the nascent days of the state of Montana, following a Blackfeet Indian named Good Stab, as he haunts the fields of the Blackfeet Nation looking for justice. It begins with a diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor, is discovered within a wall in 2012. What is unveiled is a slow massacre, a nearly forgotten chain of events that goes back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow, told in the transcribed interviews with Good Stab, who shares the narrative of his peculiar and unnaturally long life over a series of confessional visits. This is an American Indian revenge story, captured in the vivid voices of the time by one of the new masters of literary horror, Stephen Graham Jones. This book, like, rocked my world. It only got better. My God. It is a wonderful book to consume as an audiobook because they invested a great deal in it. That the person combing through all of the diary entries, like the one that's looking back on it in 2012, is a different voice actor than Good Stab, than is the Lutheran pastor that is the one transcribing the stories. It's so deeply visceral. Every voice is distinct. I felt so validated reading it in a weird way because I feel like I'm getting emotional now. There were points where Good Stab was describing something, and in the audiobook it said, and then my hands were like this. And it doesn't tell you, it's the understanding that in the moment, the Lutheran pastor is transcribing directly as Good Stab is sharing it. And that's exactly what would happen in a confessional in a situation like that is for a Native American man especially, a lot of how storytelling and recounting of stories happens is so beautifully translated to this book. It's a very clear distinction from how Good Stab is speaking to how the Lutheran pastor is internalizing it. And there's a lyrical quality to how Good Stab will share his accounts, how he goes into his confessional visits. It really, the way that it felt so deeply layered, and so grotesque, so beautifully written, so beautifully conceived, and heartbreaking. I just feel like I'm Lady Gaga right now. It's like it's giving me everything. Just very beautifully done. And same thing with the audiobook. I enjoyed having it be broken down what the inspirations were for the book. And normally I'm like, I can go either way about where that came from for people. But hearing that Stephen Graham Jones was like inspired by like The Holdovers, we love that film in this household. It's a classic for us. And God, there's another, like, to me, random, but everything bleeds in. I love how much Stephen Graham Jones very clearly took deep dive, historical context, doing his own research on Lutheran as being Lutheran as a denomination, like what that would look like, and also accepting, like, I'm going to get it wrong. His perspective is so deeply refreshing to me after everybody feeling like you have to get it perfectly right or you got to cancel whoever because it didn't get some details right or wrong. It's very grounded writing in a way that I feel like completely blew my mind. So read this either with your eyes or go add yourself to the waiting list for the audiobook because iconic. And I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. I'm like, actually, I think it's a 5-star book for me. I was in a weird headspace leading up to it, but talking about it would be an instant reread for me. And I already want to reread it now that I'm talking to you about it. So yeah, the Buffalo Hunter, highly recommend. The other one that I'm currently e-reading as we speak at time of filming is Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff. It's about 10 years old now. It's a dark fantasy horror, black horror novel. It is exploring the horror fiction by H.P. Lovecraft, but also racism in the US during the era of Jim Crow laws, black science fiction also being like woven in is like the love of science fiction, how black people exist in science fiction historically. It's really wonderfully layered. I did begin to watch the show before reading it. I have not finished it, and now it feels weird to want to watch it because of somebody ruining it for everybody. But yeah, I love everybody else in it for the most part. I think I'll come back to it, but only after finishing Lovecraft Country. Alrighty, so our next kind of group is short. No, our next group is our next group of books is nonfiction. So I have Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film by Carol J. Clover. It was gifted to me. It was a Secret Santa gift, actually. I'm like, I'm very glad I just asked for what I wanted because this is one that I'm glad that I have a physical copy of that I can annotate and come back to as I need to. Yeah. Yeah, 2019. And yeah, I come back to it, I want to say every year, every other year. I dig it. It really goes into greater detail because this originally was an article, an essay exploring the final girl. In 1990s is when this became more of like a breakdown of film studies, of gender studies, a kind of more all-encompassing, at least in the time that it was written, understanding of the final girl. I would be very curious about how we could expand on it now, given I have a pre-recorded themed tarot reading that I'm offering. It's tarot, astrology, horror, storytelling, all woven together, called Can't Final Girl. And This is one that I used to initially conceptualize it. It'll be fun. I love being able to combine tarot and astrology in general. I think that they're wonderful complements to each other. And especially with it being spooky season, I love being able to put my final girl spin on it. We have, let me move you out of the way a little bit. Save Save the Cat writes Horror, the ultimate guide to creating monsters in the house stories by Jamie Nash. It's inspired by those like Blake Snyder Save the Cat books. Is exactly what it sounds like. Horror has like core ingredients according to this concept around horror writing and helping you to balance, helping you develop all the different layers. So, as somebody who is writing a horror novel, it felt like a good thing to pick up now that's available. It's very new and a quick read. And if you are early in your writing journey, then it's very much like a pick it up, put it down, back and forth situation as you develop things out. If you are already writing, I think it's really great for helping you evaluate if you could maybe do a little perspective tweak, if you could develop something further or anchor things down a bit more. It really has helped me solidify some things I think have held me back from being able to write my novel. I had this feeling of like, oh, what do I share? What don't I share? And it's a very validating book around. So I feel like I have so much more momentum right now around my novel for many reasons, but this has been a big one for sure. Okay, that was my little nonfiction pile. And now I have little books. Littles. Husband's here. Hello. My final category are little books. Little books and short story collection, which, you know, is a bunch of little books in a sense. Clearly, I thought very hard about this category. We have Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. When newly married, Reese and Moira start experiencing malevolent spirit activity in their home, they do everything within their power to rid themselves of the entity. As a modern ceremonial sorcerer and a tarot reading witch, this should be exactly their forte. But every quick fix spell is met with failure as the strange occurrences continue to escalate. Left with no other option, the couple turns to Reese's secret society for help. Unfortunately, help comes from none other than Reese's psychic ex-boyfriend, David, whose devil-may-care attitude is the last thing this marriage in trouble needs. Tensions run high amid supernatural chaos and clashing magical styles, and Reese and Moira's love is pushed to its limits. With everything that is dear to them on the line, Reese and Moira will have to pull from their deepest wells of magic to survive. And most frighteningly of all, they will have to remember how to trust each other. If this ain't like a cult tea, S.T. Gibson knows Christian, pagan, whatever you might be, the groups be messy. And the tea between like witches, that's something I even heard when we were at Salem Witch Fest the first day. The first person that I even met, she was like, don't date a witch. Don't date a Salem witch man. It won't go well for you. I'm like, cool, cool. So rough out there. Goddess of Filth by V. Castro. One hot summer night, best friends Lourdes, Fernanda, Anna, Bella, and Pauline host a seance. It's all fun and games at first, but their tipsy laughter turns to terror when the flames burn straight through their prayer candles and Fernanda starts crawling towards her friends and chanting in Nahuatl, the language of their Aztec ancestors. Over the next few weeks, shy, modest Fernanda starts acting strangely, smearing herself in black makeup, shredding her hands on rose thorns, sucking sin out of the mouths of the guilty. The local priest is convinced it's a demon, but Lourdes begins to suspect it's something else, something far more ancient and powerful. Yes. A wonderful, as you can see, accompaniment to my very first book I flagged of The Exorcist. The little blurb up top does talk about how they're trying to emulate like the craft and whatnot. So I feel like gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. This one is a little blurb by N.K. Jemisin. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Kaw. Kaw? Stephen Graham Jones. We're all talking to each other. We're all blurbing each other's stuff. It is a gorgeously creepy haunted house tale steeped in Japanese folklore. A Heian era mansion stands abandoned, its foundations resting on the bones of a bride and its walls packed with the remains of the girl sacrificed to keep her company. It's the perfect venue for a group of thrill-seeking friends brought back together to celebrate a wedding. A night of food, drinks, and games quickly spirals into a nightmare as secrets get dragged out and relationships are tested. But the house has secrets too. Lurking in the shadows is the ghost bride with a black smile and a hungry heart. And she gets lonely down there in the dirt. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Reading that out loud, it's very much giving Houseu, I would say. Like, oh, we're gonna have this really cute little girls weekend out, it's gonna be fun, yay. And then, ah, man, Asian horror, man. Right to you. I have Loteria by Cynthia Pelayo, stories. So this is the aforementioned short story collection. Oh. Loteria is a collection of short stories and poems inspired by the Mexican card name of the same name. It features 54 cards with iconic imagery and symbolism. This collection highlights each of the cards, and every tale is inspired by a unique Latin American folklore, legend, myth, or belief that existed in the Americas long before their European counterparts. The stories explore the quiet and uncanny, and sometimes the gruesome and the grim, to provide a glimpse into the rich history of fairy tales and folk tales from across a number of Latin American countries and communities. Very stoked for that, for sure. Also, the triumph of Cynthia Pelayo really does have me in my feels about like, I should have ignored feedback to get a regular, useful degree because Homegirl went and got an MFA and she's like slaying, so nothing matters. Follow your dreams because the earth is dying. Last but not least, a book that I have been reading religiously, like every Halloween season since 2020. I have read Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, an edition by him. So in 2020, 2021, and yeah, those 2 years, I got the book from the library. I believe it was an ebook both times because it's very old, the book. But they always have a copy available, so there's always a version available for you regardless. I'm enamored with the Carmen Maria Machado version edition. For those that don't know, Carmilla predates Dracula and it inspired Dracula. So if you're like, oh, these feel very familiar, there's a reason why. A fun little anecdote for you all. I remember we were in church, we were waiting for a little concert to begin, and then this gentleman is sat next to me, and he goes, I see that you're reading Carmilla, and then was also taking notes, because at the time I thought, I'm gonna get me a cheeky little MFA myself. But he's asking me about it, and I said, I'm enjoying reading it. I've reread it actually, so it's a favorite of mine. And then he goes on, oh, but why are you reading it though? And then I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, let me put a fine point on it. Are you reading it for the vampires or for the lesbians? And then, because I had like a Pride like band for my Apple Watch at the time, he looks at it, he's like, well, here's the thing. I ask you that because I see that you have this Pride band on your Apple Watch, but also based on the look on your face and the fact that you haven't said anything back yet, I wonder if maybe that was a mistake and maybe that was actually offensive. So I'm sorry. I told him, I'm reading it for both. I'm reading it for both the vampires and the lesbians. And I said, thank you for your solidarity with the queer community. And he's like, okay, thank you. And then we both shut up because the concert was beginning. So there you go. So Here is the description. Isolated in a remote mansion in a Central European forest, Laura longs for companionship until a carriage accident brings another young woman into her life, the secretive and sometimes erratic Carmilla. As Carmilla's actions become more puzzling and volatile, Laura begins developing Laura develops bizarre symptoms, and as her health goes into decline, Laura and her father discover something monstrous. Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu's compelling tale of a young woman's seduction by a female vampire was a source of influence by Bram Stoker's Dracula, which it predates by over a quarter century. Carmilla was originally serialized from 1871 to 1872, and then went on to inspire adaptations to film, opera, and beyond, including the cult classic web series by the same name. I love that the introduction is basically Carmen Maria Machado being like, yeah, this book is gay. The end. It is 139 pages total. Yeah, let me know if y'all would want to make this a live reading situation, because I feel like this could be a fun one to like once a week go and read a blurb of it. And I feel like that would be best like done on Patreon to avoid any copyright concerns, even though again it's in the public domain thing at this point, but just to be on the safe side. If we want to do it as like a book clubby thing, let me know. Again, I do this every single year. That's the books. That's the stack. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Let me know if any of these are books that you have read. Let me know down below if any of these are also on your TBR. And keep me posted. Again, I love Carmilla. It is an every year thing for me. So let me know if you want to co-read or things of that nature, because it's fun to read with other people. Like, subscribe, and stay spooky, and support writers of color who write horror. Thank you to my patrons. This video could not have happened without you all. Thank you to my seekers and to my alchemists. And a very special thank you to my Conjurer tier members. I want to thank Karina, Georgia, Jess, Laura, Rachel, and Mallow. Thank you all for being conjurers at the highest tier. I appreciate you all so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.